Hello, everybody. It's Cade Walsh from Team YEET, showing the current progress of our project. Unfortunately, we had a couple of road bumps and hiccups here and there along the way that ended up causing production time to triple. Had a few bugs in the code that I'm still trying to beat out, and we've had a couple of issues with the map layout and some other things. Overall, the video footage that I compiled beforehand is current sneak peeks and tidbits of what we've been doing. We've essentially been operating under a very interesting set of circumstances where, for the map layout, we have to white box, and as we white box, we have to fill in at the bare minimum to make the lighting look good. This is meant to be a horror game after all, and as you can see here, we have this hangar, which I think looks really nice, actually. We've got the door that you come in through on this side, and you hop over this broken railing right there, go down there, and you go through the path. So the white box for this was literally just a path. And that was it. It was the step down, making sure you can't get back up. We filled the rest of it in with this nice little hangar. I think it looks pretty good. But yeah, we had a couple of hiccups, road bumps along the way. Namely, I'm just going to fly on over. Haha, breaking the magic, of course, of what a game is. Our AI. Our AI was a huge issue, because this guy is smart, but only sometimes. He operates off of a behavioral tree, and the issue that is running into is basically, so it starts here, it reads left to right. Goes down to here. There's a thing in here where if it sees you, then it goes to here. But if it doesn't see you, it's supposed to go to here, and it does, but for some reason, some part of it is not connecting. So this is the area that's supposed to tell the patrol path. It instead just stands still. But then whenever it sees the player, jumps all the way back up here, goes over here, begins the path of chasing. There's a lot of tutorials about how to get this stuff to work, basically. So, supposed to chase the player, and then if it loses sight of the player, sends it back up, sends it over here, says, hey, wait a minute, I just saw the player, starts searching. And if it sees the player at all during its search, jumps back up, goes back to this. There's some disconnect here, though. It's not following its path. Another issue that we had is we were trying to get it to animate to attack the player, swinging its arms, whatever. And for some reason, Unreal was not allowing us to import any animations from any other software. It kept saying that there was errors with the rig, there was code missing, this, that, and the other. It was not having a good time. Which is a bit unfortunate, because one of the biggest things that breaks the immersion currently is, if I go over, that's the machine AI. If I go to the machine, he's sitting there breathing, like a robot should do. But yeah, there's just a couple of things here and there that kind of break the immersion. This is very much in our very early stages of the game. Flamethrower had been... Whoa, okay. Flamethrower has been imported. However, just by looking at it here, I see that Unreal really doesn't like how some of the things were laid out, so it needs to have a full UV being redone. Actually working on retopologizing this for a separate project, and hopefully doing a UV layout and some stuff like that. So Flamethrower's here, it just hasn't really been used because, unfortunately, by the logic of how things need to go, the flamethrower is meant to distract the AI, so you can't implement the flamethrower until the AI are working. You can have AI without a flamethrower, or you can have AI without a method to distract them in a horror game, but you cannot have a method to distract an AI that doesn't exist. So that's kind of where we're at there. The map itself is a very short run currently. We had a lot of issues with it. Overall, I tried to highlight some of the better parts of it. Audio is another big thing that we'll be working on in the future. Unfortunately, this project would have gone much smoother if we had like an extra month or two to work out all the kinks in it and iron stuff out. Big issue was with communication. We had one member of the group was overseas on a 14-hour time zone difference, so we had a lot of trouble back and forth with, well, everyone. We only were a 3-man team, or 3-person team, rather, my bad. But yeah, we have a lot going. Why is that? I've broken something horribly. But yeah, I'll give a brief demonstration of where the AI is at. If I walk out over here, this is the test world, by the way. This is loaded in a test world. We have one world for test world for code, one world for the development of the map. So if I walk up to him, he's supposed to walk from here to over here and back. If I look at him, hey, he sees me. And if I run over here, he'll keep chasing me. I had to make him slow because the player's not very fast. And if I suddenly run behind him, he will look around a little bit. He can't see me up here, though, because this is not part of the navigational mesh, which is a huge issue that we were going to run into. So he works based on nav mesh. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a little weird boundary that tells this little dude that he can walk on it. So if I press P, it'll highlight in green. So you'll notice that there's quite a lot of area he can get me in currently. One huge issue, though, is anywhere that the nav mesh cuts off is an area the AI cannot access. So one big problem with using nav mesh is these doors. We would have to lower them down or do something like that, or raise the nav mesh up something to tell the AI that yes, you can in fact walk through a door. Bit painful on the eyes, though, isn't it? We had a lot, but I speak at least personally, had a lot of fun working on this project. It's not in its development phase again. It's not in its completion. We had a couple of hiccups with sharing files between one another. We had a couple of hiccups with communication. We had a couple of hiccups with, well, the actual code and the Unreal Engine itself. We had a lot of, troubles, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, I'd say that what we currently have is something that I'm actually rather proud of. The fact that, I'm not much of a code person, the fact that I managed to get this guy to walk around and follow the player, I think is pretty neat. Flamethrower we're having a few issues with. You actually can't pick it up right now, and there's a camera attached to it, which I need to remove. I'm still learning the whole weapon thing. It is a learning process, but the idea that we had, long and short of it, is, you might ask yourself, why have a flamethrower in a horror game? The idea is thermal optics. Because the AI can sense the player using a thing called AI perception, which is right here, very nifty little tool, I can tell this little dude that I, as the player, exist and to find me. But it can only do that if it sees me. And seeing is, straightforward cone, basically. The idea with the flamethrower is, let's assume these machines operate off thermal optics. If you were to do something like, set a room on fire, something like that, they would have a lot harder of a time to see you due to the radiance of the heat. The idea was to have oil drums, oil barrels, spills, whatever, littered throughout the main area of the map where the machines were, and have some rooms that were even completely pitch black, needing light to see. You are to light these with the flamethrower and for a short time be able to see things and have the machines attracted to the fire rather than you. However, there will be some cases where the fire is in between you and the machine is in between you and where you need to go. So lighting it on fire will bring the machine to you, and you need to act fast. That was the initial idea of it. We had an idea for basic story. You know, you're out in the middle of a winter tundra. It's hard to see because we still have not deleted the sun just yet. But yeah, you're out in the middle of a winter tundra. You find this place. You're like, hey, you know, shelter. And then you walk inside, and then everything is bad. But let me reiterate: this man is not supposed to be here. This is literally just because you spawned there. It's a test area. You know, all the little dev secrets, I suppose. But you know, you're stranded out there. It's an Arctic tundra. You go in here. Everything's great. Everything isn't great suddenly. We have, as you might have seen through the montage, little hints and pieces of barricades, people intentionally lighting things on fire, people trying to get these things away from them. And our idea was to have the player kind of progress through this area and discover what happened here and eventually encounter the machines themselves and have to avoid them. Again, ultimately, this kind of fell through because this was a bit of an ambitious project for a 2-semester thing, especially because a lot of, again, time zone differences, we all have other classes, we couldn't just dedicate our whole lives to working just on this project. But again, we made a good significant amount of progress, I'd say. So yeah, again, this is Cade Walsh, here with Team YEET, working on a horror game. Y'all have a good one.